back, you beautiful fish lovers. It's your boy, Big Tuna himself, and you guys are here at the First and Tuna podcast. Episode 1, Season 2, the kickoff. We're running it back. We're here for the 2024 season, and I love you for being here with me. You're choosing to be here with me in a world where you could pick 10 other podcasts, a million other YouTube channels, ESPN1, ESPN2, ESPN The Ocho, anything else, and you're choosing to be here with me. I hope you stay. I'm going to try my best to give you guys reasons to stay. We're going to go through what some of those reasons could be a little bit later. But on the onset, it's April 1st, 2024. Ain't no April Fools about it. From now until the end of February next year, that calendar turns to 2025, we're going to be going on a football journey together. And I'm hoping I can give you guys not just another channel of, hey, let's talk about something that happened 5 minutes ago and give you surface level breakdown and move on. No. Give you a little bit of a State of the Union in a little bit. We're a little bit deeper of a channel if you guys are returning from season 1. But damn, let's catch up. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. I missed you. You miss me? Do I sound clingy? I need you guys. Please love me. Happy official start to the 2024 season. Now, for those of you that are unaware, that don't know, the football season doesn't actually start in September with kickoff. It starts in March. We've already got a lot to catch up on. Free agency period. The draft is in about 3 weeks. The Chicago Bears are on the clock, and they're pretending they're going to pick anybody else besides Caleb Williams. But first, what I want to do, I want to get into the why of this podcast. Give you guys a quick who is Tuna, who is First and Tuna, and why I think you guys will enjoy hanging out with me from now until the end of time. Now, if you guys have not already, please like, subscribe, share the podcast on whatever platform you guys are listening from today. I appreciate you greatly for that. For reasons why you guys should stick around or even share it. I think I've got 3 good reasons. 4 if you guys count funny. If you guys think I'm funny, I don't know. I doubt it, but I'll just keep hoping in my heart. But let's kind of get the State of the Union, State of the Tuna Union. There's a word in there somewhere. I want to break down what First and Tuna is and is not. So reason number 1, we are here in the heart of the Central Valley. So if you love California and you love being a West Coaster, stick around. So we've got a safe space for you. What do I mean by that? Me, obviously, I'm a Los Angeles Rams fan, but this is not a Rams-only podcast. So if you're a fan of Rams, Raiders, Niners, and Chargers, this truly is a safe space for you. The reason is when I started this podcast, all my friends and family are fans of primarily those 4 teams. So I wanted to have stuff for them to enjoy and talk about. I don't want people just to listen, oh, hey, because my friend has this. Like, no, I want them to actually have something that they care about. Because if you're like me and you're a footballaholic, you consume football daily. And finding something that just talks about your team on those days where you just want to hear, Raiders news. Unless you already know of a big podcast or channel that's got that going, hopefully I can provide that for you guys. Scratch that itch for you, if I may. Reason number 2 is we swim a little bit deeper. Full pun intended there. But a little bit on my background. So I studied history at Sacramento State. Go Hornets. And I have a passion for the research side. I feel like I have a great love for researching something, finding a story, finding not an angle, but an interesting niche or nuance to a story and bringing it to light in a way that is enjoyable or digestible for people to learn something new about something that they love. And so I combine those two of, research and historical stuff with football to create these kind of deep dives that I'm hoping our content can provide for you guys. What do I mean by that? A great example, if you go to our blog, 2 articles in particular come to mind for me. So if you go to the one that we did on Brock Purdy a few months ago, huge story about Purdy this last season, how he performed and him being Mr. Irrelevant. Catch up on that a little bit, but also dove into his collegiate years and talked about how he kind of went under the radar, what played into it, and what strengths that he had. So doing that research, diving into a little bit of his collegiate career for Niners fans to enjoy. See, I'm not biased towards just Rams. And then most recently, our last article on Matthew Stafford didn't just want to do a recap of the Rams 2023 season. So what we did was I kind of took a few moments from his season and mirrored that with the Rams season as a whole, with the focal point being his leadership and mental toughness, and how the Rams team kind of embodied that with him at the forefront. We're trying to do, like I said, swim a little bit deeper, create some nuance. The reason for that is because I love this game, and I think that if some of you want to love it, or you already do, maybe I can spark that in you, or maybe I can help you appreciate it that much more, because it truly is a great part of life that brings a lot of us together. So kind of my nerdy way of making you love football. And reason number 3, it's one that I'm still developing. I'm trying to be conscious of it. It's hard to sometimes when you get into the weed of things, but First and Tuna is not just for the football connoisseur, not for the sommelier of football ease. It's for the newcomers, for the Swifties, for those who maybe you catch the sport, you really want to get into it, but every piece of media that you get out to, you just don't know the people, you don't know how it works. Hell, you don't even know what free agency is that we're talking about today. Hopefully, I carve out enough time every week to where I speak just to the beginners. Thus, like if you're watching on YouTube, hey, I have a placard that's explained vocabulary word of what free agency is. Last season, we had our section for Swifties. I try to be conscious of that because I really do. I have a passion for sharing that love of the sport. And even if you're brand new to it, I want to help you love it a little bit more. So breathe. I know that was a lot, and we still have a lot more to go through. I want to go rapid fire. I don't want this first episode to be 80 minutes long, even though you love hearing my voice. So, like I said, if you haven't found a reason to tune in every week to First and Tuna, hopefully one of those reasons is enough for you. Thank you for being here, and we've got a hell of a journey, so let's get fucking started. Let's paint the picture for everybody that's brand new here. If you're unaware, the NFL season doesn't kick off in September with the first game. It technically starts in March with a free agency period, open tampering period. I actually still don't fully understand what that really means down to the final detail. Basically, free agency starts. People that need new teams, that want to search for a new team, teams that want to facilitate trades between players. That's when it officially begins. So the last few weeks, if you've been paying attention to Twitter or X, Instagram, you've been seeing a lot of news flying around of this person moved to this team traded for this guy. So you have a lot of that going on. And also we're in the weeks leading up to the NFL draft here in April. NFL draft is a thing of contention I kind of have as a football fan. It's super exciting for the rookies. Like, I love the stories that come out of the draft. You hear about some of their stories, the struggles they've gone through, how football can really be a catalyst to change people's lives. I've seen it firsthand. I have friends that, have had football involved in their lives, albeit maybe not to the professional level for all of them, but football has changed their lives for the good. It's either brought people into their lives, put them in different situations that they maybe would not have had without the sport. So you get a little bit of that with the draft. A place of contention is with the media. A lot of smoke screen, a lot of nonsense that happens. For example, if you've not been following with the news, the consensus first pick in the draft is going to be USC quarterback Caleb Williams. He's the best player in the draft. Who's going to take him? Chicago Bears have the first pick. What happens with the media is there's rumors like, oh, he's a bad guy because he paints his nails pink with fashion in LA. The Bears, aren't going to take him because they had another quarterback at the time. Like, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's hard to kind of like really enjoy consuming football at that time. So we're going to try our hardest to not give into that and just kind of spit it to you guys straight here. Enough of the rambling. Let's jump into what's been happening. Let's wade these waters. That is the NFL start of the offseason. So we're going to break this down team by team, and in favorable fashion, we're going to start with my team, the Los Angeles Rams. Biggest news that happened this past month recently, Aaron Donald, one of the, if not the greatest Los Angeles Ram to ever wear the blue and yellow, officially retired after 10 years. Sucked. So it really sucked waking up that day and seeing him done. If you're unfamiliar with Aaron Donald, if you want a reason to root for the Rams, man, just turn on his highlights and just see how dominant he was. Literally, YouTube, Aaron Donald highlights. You'll see a lot of pictures on Instagram from like 3, 4 guys. Almost, it looks like a meme, looks fake. But you got multiple people trying to block him, and you listen to these players talk about him playing against him, that unless you have 2 or more guys blocking him, he's going to ruin a game. And so knowing that that guy is no longer on your team feels weird, because he was a guarantee for the last decade that, all right, dude's going to go in, locked in, and help you win the game. So congratulations, 99. Godspeed in retirement. We will miss you here as Rams fans. Some cool things that you picked up from, he did an interview with his wife kind of talking about his choice to retire. It's a really good find. It's up on YouTube right now. He talked about how Coach Sean McVay was a deciding factor and when he first held out for his first contract, how he got him to come out of the holdout. I think it was 2016 or 2017. And he talks about, again, how he told Sean McVay that as long as you're coaching here, that I don't want to go anywhere else, play outside of LA. So kind of credit to Coach Sean McVay. He seems to be super well respected around the league. Super great that we have him, but sucks to not have 99 anymore. That leaves the Los Angeles Rams in a very precarious, very interesting spot. Not a bad spot, but interesting. Obviously, you lose your leader on defense, but now it shifts to the youth movement that already happened last year for the Rams. They've got great players on both sides of the ball. They made the playoffs after a 10-7, almost like seemingly miraculous year. So we'll be diving into what that new defensive identity looks like as we move closer to the draft. Focusing on the 49ers. We're going to call this catching up with the Bang Bangers, or whatever they say in their motto. Last we saw them, happy for me, sad for y'all, the Niners did lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in overtime. We can laugh all about it, but the fact of the matter is they made the Super Bowl. They were maybe one play away from the Super Bowl. You score a touchdown. You stop them one time on a drive in the fourth quarter. Anything can happen. They were right there. Their roster stays mostly intact. Right now, their main narrative, if you're following the 49ers, super talented team. How long can their Super Bowl window stay open? When we talk about narratives for each team, it's kind of the big picture for each season. There's a narrative for each season, and we're going to try our best to break it down and focus on that for every team that we cover. So their main narrative is, all right, super talented, one of the loaded rosters in the league. Can they get it done? Because the way the salary cap works, the way rosters work, you can't keep that core or extended periods of time because you can't pay everybody. Part of that struggle is already arising by way of they've lost Eric Armstead, a longtime veteran with the 49ers, playing on that defensive line for them. Got a little bit messy. He came out on his own podcast talking about he felt disrespected by the 49ers because they came to the negotiating table way below what he was asking. I think like $6 million or $8 million per year, which doesn't sound great, but apparently he got like $34 million guaranteed in Jacksonville. So, congrats to him for getting his bag. The other messiness happening with wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Right now, his agents are just aggressively working social media, posting shit on Twitter. I won't say bad mouthing, but kind of bad mouthing, kind of taking silent shots at the organization about him getting paid. Like, for example, he posted emojis only, bullshit walks, money talks, something like that. It's a tactic by seemingly only wide receivers over the last few years, that where if you want to put pressure on an organization, you want to win, the public view, the public opinion, make it seem like they don't want to pay you, so that way it forces them to the negotiating table, or trade me away for a better payday. So right now the focus is on if Brandon Ayuk's contract can get extended in San Francisco. And if we want to pretend like there isn't precedence for this happening, it's not like, they're going to get the job. It's not guaranteed that he's going to get signed. Look what happened to Tyreek Hill a few years ago, where he played the same game. He played chicken with the organization, ended up sending him to Miami for a boatload of picks. So not a guarantee he stays in San Francisco. And the final part, a lot of narratives for the 49ers. They have one more season with Brock Purdy under his rookie contract. Why is that important? Well, we just talked about 2 guys, one that left already for more money, one that's asking for more money. They currently have the wallet to do it because they're not paying for a top-end quarterback. That's something that they have as a benefit for this year. As we look towards extensions later in the year, we can see that be a potential strain on their roster makeup. Moving on to what used to be the other side of the bay, but is now Vegas, the Raiders. Raiders have had a lot of good news. Your Raiders are I'm actually really excited for them. Oh, God, you guys are going to be obnoxious this year, aren't you? I could feel it in my little toesies. I could feel it. So, catching up on what's happening with them. They fired their coach last season in place of interim coach Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce was hired full-time after an impressive showing as an interim coach. He seems to embody what is the Raider way, the Raider image. Very strong following. Seems to have the locker room won over. I like the direction that they're heading in. They have a new general manager. He's the former Chargers general manager. That's potentially a different can of worms we can get into later. Got out of the Jimmy Garoppolo, the Jimmy G contract. Why? Because his handsome self got caught taking banned substances or illegal substances, something against something that he's not allowed to as a player. So he's suspended for 2 games, but because of that, there's a void in his contract that guaranteed money he was supposed to have. Raiders no longer have to pay it. So when they got rid of him, he was able to go find a new team. He's on the Rams. We'll keep that part quiet. They didn't have to pay him extra money to go ahead and leave. So a little bit of a cherry on top that's been happening good for the Raiders. Big signing. They were big winners in the free agency period. They signed Christian Wilkins, one of the top defensive players. I think he was a top 3. I think after Chris Jones and Aaron Donald, he was a top 3 defensive tackle in the league last season. Got a big payday. Raiders paid him. Great fit. He seems excited. He seems like a great dude. I think it's a great fit for the Raiders. So a little bit of excitement happening on that defense as well. And I have to say this with true lack of sarcasm. I have a very good feeling about Oakland, Vegas this year. They do seem to be making moves that are out of character from what they have in the past decade or two. I'm trying to find what the narrative is going to be for the Raiders outside of like, okay, new coach, new year, how does he do? If you want like a historic narrative for the Raiders, there's been almost like a curse over them the last 2 decades, to ever since that was it 2002 when they were in the Super Bowl and they lost to the Buccaneers. I forgot what year, but since then it seems like they've been cursed. That every time they get something good, it turns sour, or they ruin first round picks. They can't get the draft right. There's like a lot of bad juju around it. But the move to Vegas, with the hiring of Antonio Pierce, the energy that's coming out of that organization right now, it seems like they're doing something different, and that's a good thing. The Raider way has kind of gotten in their own way a little bit with some stubbornness, if I can say so. But with a new coach that's getting a complete buy-in, more time removed from the move to Vegas. They have some stars on both sides of the ball. Although they do have a glaring hole at the quarterback position, not knowing who the franchise guy is, they're in a good position draft-wise and cap and salary resource-wise to make a move there and possibly put the Raiders over the hump. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the playoffs this season, even if they play a rookie quarterback, whoever that might be. I do have a great feeling from now moving forward through the rest of the 2020s about the Raiders organization. And last but not least, the little brother organization, the other team in LA, the Chargers. Man, we've got great storylines from all 4 of these teams, and we're barely in April. So if you have not been following, the Chargers finally got rid of their coach last season. They got rid of their general manager as well. They went ahead and hired a former 49ers coach, now former Michigan Wolverines coach. He was coaching in college, Jim Harbaugh. John? Was it John or Jim? Oh my God, I'm getting the Harbaughs mixed up. The one that's not in Baltimore. His brother is now, I can't believe I'm messing this up, new coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. There was some drama about Coach Harbaugh because during his time in Michigan, there was some tampering going on with some potential punishments coming from the NCAA in regards to sign stealing or cheating in college football. He was able to win the national championship, opted to not stay, come back to the NFL, and now he's coaching your Los Angeles Chargers. People have been wanting him back in the NFL. He did great things in San Francisco during his time there during the 2010s. If you remember the Kaepernick era, battles with the Legion of Boom up in Seattle. They made a Super Bowl, lost to the Ravens that year against his own brother. Did great things. A lot of people were really excited about what's happening in Los Angeles with the Chargers organization. So clear, the narrative is we're going to follow the new dynamic, the new makeup of the Chargers team. Very similar to what's happening in Vegas under the Antonio Pierce regime. A little bit different, though, because of how polarizing Coach Harbaugh is and has been. So there's going to be a lot more media attention on the Chargers this year. What does that really look like? Him as a new head coach, I'm sure there's a futures bet if you're a futures better, prop bet or whatever you want to call it, on a Harbaugh Bowl in the AFC playoffs with the Chargers and Ravens. eating in the playoffs this year. I'm sure there's a bet for that. Harbaugh has his work cut out for himself this year, though. He's got a franchise quarterback, golden child, Justin Herbert, but the roster already looks dramatically different than what it did just 2 months ago before we jumped into the free agency period. Keenan Allen was traded to the Bears after multiple fantastic seasons as their number one wide receiver and longtime just fan favorite. Hell, I loved Keenan Allen in the Chargers jersey. KA the Slayer was very underrated in the league. He now plays for the Chicago Bears. Austin Eckler, who's had a dynamic, fantastic last few years with the Chargers, took a new contract to go play for the Washington football team. I refuse to call them Commanders because I just think Washington football team is a dope name. Mike Williams was also allowed to walk. He got hurt last season. He was out for the whole year. He is looking to revitalize his career in New York now. There were a lot of rumors going around in free agency of whether they're able to keep one, if not both, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on that defensive line. They kept both. They're aging. They have some injury ailments, but they've kept them. That's a great thing for the defense. They've got an uphill battle. They got a new coach, great quarterback, kept some defensive stars, but they've got rivals Raiders that we're going to be covering that are also upstart as well. And then you've got the AFC champion, NFL champion, defending back-to-back Super Bowl winners, Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. As long as you've got Patrick Mahomes and he's walking on 2 feet, it's going to be a tough battle to win that division. It's kind of, if you remember Tom Brady growing up, watching him and just constantly winning the AFC East, we're witnessing that in AFC West right now. So as long as Mahomes is there and healthy and playing, Chiefs are going to be a tough out to win the AFC West. But we're going to be talking a lot about the Chargers this year under the Harbaugh regime. Excited to see what they can do. And as promised, a surprise, a fifth team that we're going to be covering. Is it an NFL team? No, not technically. It's a UFL team. So if you don't know what the UFL is, it's a combination of what the XFL and I think the UFL was before. It's co-owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They made this love child that is the UFL. It's made up of 8 teams. It is spring football. You can look at the UFL as like a feeder league for the NFL. There's a few former NFL players in there. There's going to be a lot of guys that played in college. Maybe they didn't get a chance in the NFL, didn't get drafted. This is kind of like a second chance for these guys to put some legitimate tape from the field, send it out to the league, try to get another chance in the NFL. So it's great football. It's not just a bunch of random guys playing semi-pro. No offense to anybody that does play semi-pro that watches this. Please don't hurt me. You're tougher than me. But this is a big deal. There's a lot of money going into this. And here, the First and Tuna podcast is the official fan podcast for the St. Louis Battlehawks because KAW is law. KAW! And that's the last time I will ever do that on this podcast. Yes, we are St. Louis Battlehawks fans. A little bit left over from Los Angeles Rams leaving St. Louis. I felt kind of obligated, like, all right, I kind of got to root for St. Louis. They've got quarterback A.J. McCarron. I liked what A.J. McCarron did last season as a backup to Joey Burrow in Cincinnati. He decided to leave the NFL, come play for the Battlehawks. I think he wanted to show that he can kind of sling it as a starter, get some more playing time on tape, which is pretty cool. So you got some good stories from the guys. And a quick recap, if you did not watch any of the UFL games this past weekend, because it kicked off. Speaking of the Battlehawks, man, what a way to end the game. First of all, it was actually a hell of a fucking game. The entire time I'm watching, I was into it as much as I would be any NFL game. It was good. It was good football, albeit a little bit slow to start because you got to remember these guys don't have a lot of time together. They've meshed leagues together, meshed teams together. So a lot of guys are still kind of figuring things out, almost like you would from an NFL preseason game. Towards the second half of the game, as guys got more comfortable, you see some just fantastic performances from wide receivers. Wide receiver Aitman for the Battlehawks, he made a huge leaping grab on like 4th down to close to the end of the game. Ended up getting a touchdown to end the game too, or almost to end the game. But it's what happened at the end of that game that's pretty fucking fantastic. So remember we talked about these guys aren't from the league. Some of these guys maybe didn't even play in college. Insert kicker Jake Bates of the Michigan Panthers. We talk about cool player stories, man. This dude, not only did he has not kicked a field goal in college, he ain't kicked a field goal since high school, like in a game. He did go to college, but he sat behind other guys who just beat him out. He kind of talks about it very candidly. It just wasn't his time. So in his first appearance on any football field in any game is to win the game for the Panthers, but not just any field goal. It's a 64-yard field goal. To put into context, the NFL record is 66 yards. It was previously 64 yards, and it stood that way for a few years. That's a long fucking field goal. That's the edge of guys' range. If anybody can kick past 60, that's amazing. He lines up to kick a 64-yard field goal. The Battlehawks call the timeout to ice him. He drills it anyways. So on a field goal that didn't count, drilled it perfect. As I'm watching it, I'm taken aback. Because as they took the field for the field goal, and it said 64-yard attempt, I laughed. Because there's not a chance in hell this guy is... I'm sorry, man, but a nobody, we have no idea who he is going to drill a 64-yard field goal. It's just too far. He drills what is basically a practice kick, and it's not even close. Like, it cleared it. It was probably good from 70, it looked like. And so I'm now, rooting for the Battlehawks. I'm shook. I'm like, holy shit, this guy might make it. He lines up again. This motherfucker drills it. It is one of the most just incredible football stories that you're going to see all season long, and it came from the UFL League. Really fucking cool story. The dude drills a game winner from 64 yards out. He's blown up all over social media. He was on the Pat McAfee show talking about it. Seems like a good dude, but man, incredible story. If you need a reason to watch it, it's spring football. It's live right now. So come join us. We are St. Louis Battlehawks fans. We're KAW is law. So that's our announcement of this inaugural podcast that we're going to be covering the Battlehawks as a fifth team during this spring. That's about as shallow waters as we'll get here. Fish, pun intended. I told you we're not stopping all year. I've got these for you guys. About as shallow as we get in regards to episodes. I just want to get caught up. I want a quick episode to launch this season, but next episode, come back and join me. We're going to get started on our deep dives as promised. We're going to swim deep here. So if you have not read our latest article, Matthew Stafford, his leadership, mentality, yada, yada, using it as a kind of mirror image of the Rams 2023 season. We're going to recap that. We're going to use that as a platform and jump off and look ahead to what the Rams need in the draft, what they need in free agency to get ready for the 2024 season. After that, leading up to the draft, we're going to be covering each team in subsequent matter. So first, Rams, full episode dedicated to them. Next episode, 49ers, and then Raiders, and then Chargers. We're going to schedule this shit out. Then we're going to have the draft. Maybe you guys let me know. If we want a mock draft, we'll do it, but you can scroll Twitter and find like 800 of those. But yeah, let me know. If you guys want to, I'll do one for you if you want me to. Okay? Let me know. May and June, after the draft hits, if you're familiar with off-season kind of news cycles, it gets a little bit dry with football news. You've got the NBA going on and whatnot, MLB as well. So starting in May, we are going to begin our interview series. And I am the most excited about this season's podcast because of this part. We have some really exciting people. The catalyst for these interviews, the commonality that all of our guests are going to have is they all have football impacting their life in some capacity, whether they're a coach, whether they're affiliated with an organization, hell, whether they're a current or former player. They've all had football impact their lives or currently impacting their lives to some capacity. And the goal is honestly just to tell their story, let you guys meet some dope people maybe you would have never seen or known or heard from before, and tell their story. And again, I emphasize, just help you guys meet some dope people. So really looking forward to that. We're starting that in May. Cannot wait for you guys to meet these people. And that is all Tuna has for you little fishies today. That's all I've got. This is going to be a shorter episode like I talked about, or at least in comparison to what we've got the next few weeks. I just wanted to say hi. I just wanted to stop by in your life, feed you a little bit, some football nuggets, and then move on until we see each other again. But yeah, what I want to do closing out every article though, or closing out every podcast, is I want to leave you with a closing thought. Something deep from the thoughts of Tuna. Maybe it's not even football related, but it's something, I got to get off my chest, a message I want to deliver. This episode's closing thought, it may be a little bit controversial, but I've got to say it. I'm tired of holding it in. In and out is overrated. I said it. It's overrated. It is not worth sitting in line 30, 40 minutes for. There's other options. There it is. Do with that information as you may, but I think it's overrated. So, on that note, now that I've pissed off most people, I love you. From First and Tuna, I will see you guys next time.